Hello students, welcome to a lesson through the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher, and in this lockdown period, since we are not able to go to school, children, we will be doing many lessons here online through the virtual class. So come on, let's proceed to our lesson for today. Today we will be doing a lesson in standard 9th English. It is actually a poem. It is the poem numbered 1.3 in your Kumar Bharati textbook, and the name of the poem is Have You Ever Seen? Now children, we have been learning many grammar points, many vocabulary study parts also in this part of the sessions that we have been doing. Now we have learned about a kind of a question called as the rhetorical question. If you remember, we saw what are rhetorical questions. Rhetorical questions are those questions which are asked when the person who's asking the questions has got no intentions of receiving an answer. So that is the meaning of a rhetorical question. So the very name of this poem, Have You Ever Seen, is a kind of a rhetorical question. Okay, so now let us start by reading the poem. Now you can all open your textbooks and you can come to page number 13. You will see the poem on page number 13. So when I read it from here, you can also silently follow me in your textbook. And the poem which I am going to show you now, the way I will read the poem is going to be full of colors and full of pictures. Okay, so you will be able to immediately visualize what I am talking about. So have you ever seen? Have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed? Okay, this is the first question which has been asked in the poem. And if you look at the poem once, if you give a glance, you will see that this poem is full of questions. Okay, all the lines in this poem are in the form of questions. So have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed? So this is a river, children. We have all seen a river. Now what is a riverbed? A riverbed is the bottom of the river. Now sometimes we get to see the bottom of the river or the bed of the river when the river dries up. When the water in the river dries up during the summer season, we get to see the bed of the river. So have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed? So here the riverbed is being compared to the bed that which we people sleep on. Okay, now when we use a bed to sleep on, we always cover it with a bed sheet. So have you ever seen this kind of a sheet on the riverbed? So does the riverbed ever have this kind of a bed sheet? The obvious answer is no. That is why we are saying that these are all rhetorical questions. So they don't want an answer for this because they know that the answer is no. Okay. Secondly, you can say about this poem that this poem is a kind of a brain teaser also. It uses tricky words, tricky sentences in order to tease your brain, in order to tickle your brain. Okay, look at the next line in the poem now. Or a single hair from a hammer's head. So now what is a hammer? See, this is a hammer. A hammer is used in order to nail something or drive a nail into the wall or some hard surface. So now this is the head of the hammer. The hammer has got two parts. It has got a head and it has got a handle. Now this is the head of the hammer. So have you ever seen the head of the hammer growing hair like we human beings grow hair? So the head of a human being is covered with hair, isn't it? So does the hammer head ever grow hair? Again here the obvious answer is no. Let's move on and let's see the next line in our poem today. Has the foot of a mountain any toes? So now this is a mountain. We have all seen mountains. What is the foot of the mountain? The foot of the mountain is the bottom of the mountain. So this is the foot of the mountain. So have you ever seen the foot of a mountain which has got toes? Okay, the fingers on your hands are called as fingers, and the fingers on your toes, on your legs are called as toes. On your foot it is called as toes. So have you ever seen a mountain which has got toes? Look at the next line. Let's go to the next line. And is there a pair of garden hose? Now A garden hose is this kind of a pipe which we use in order to water plants in the garden. And the other kind of hose, the other meaning of hose is a kind of pants that people wear. So we always say a pair of pants, isn't it? So do we ever say a pair of hose? So this is line by line, meaning wise explanation of the first stanza of the poem. I'm sure now you will be able to understand and relate and try to establish a connection between the words and the images. Now let's go to the next stanza here. Does the needle ever wink its eye? So this is a needle. You all have seen a needle. You have needles which you use in these sewing machines, and you also have needles which you use with your hands. So now this is a needle, and the needle has got an eye also, isn't it? So now this eye of a needle, can you wink it like you wink a human eye? No, you can't, isn't it? Let's move on and let's see what else the poet wants to tease our brains with. So why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Now what is the meaning of wing of a building? It means the various parts in a building. Sometimes some buildings are very huge, and therefore in order to identify which place you want to go in the building, they have divided the building up into wings of the building. So why don't the wings of a building fly? So can the wings of a building fly like this? Isn't it? And then the poet asks, can you tickle the ribs of a parasol? Now a parasol is a kind of an umbrella. And what are the ribs of a parasol? It is these spokes in that umbrella, okay, which are called as the parasols. So can you tickle? And what is other meaning of ribs? Other meaning of rib is a part of the human body. It is an internal part of the human body, part of our skeleton, isn't it? But when you want to tickle someone, or when you want to make someone laugh, what do? You tickle the ribs of that person. So can you tickle the rib of this umbrella and make it laugh? That is what is the rhetorical question over here. Okay, next line. Or open the trunk of a tree at all. Now this is a trunk of a tree, and this is a trunk which we use for storing. So can you open the trunk of a tree and see what is inside? Or can you open the trunk of a tree and store things inside? Okay, let's go on. Let's move on to the last stanza in our poem now. Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Now this is a rake. What is a rake? A rake is a kind of a device which people use in order to pull in the fallen leaf in the garden. So all these you can see the spokes or the sharp edges, they are called as the teeth of a rake. So with human teeth you can bite an apple, you can bite an orange, isn't it? But can you bite something with the teeth of a rake? You can't, isn't it? Let's move on. Have the hands of a clock any left or right? These are the hands of the clock. The red one which is moving quickly is the seconds hand, and then you have the hours needle, you have the hour hand, and you have the minute hand. So we have a left hand and a right hand. So in this way, does the clock have a left hand or a right hand? Can the garden plot be deep and dark? Okay, now garden plot means the place, the land on which the garden is situated. And the other meaning of plot is a plan. So sometimes people make very deep and dark plans, means very dangerous plans. Okay, so can the garden plot also be dangerous in that way? And the last one, what is the sound of the birch's bark? Now you've all seen a dog barking, and you all are familiar with the sound of the dog's bark. Now, have you ever heard a birch barking? Now what is a birch? A birch is a kind of a tree. So children, here if you see the poem, I have read the entire poem for you. You will see it is full of grammar, and it is full of vocabulary exercises. Okay, you have the rhetorical question being asked from line 1 up to line 12. Everywhere they are asking us rhetorical questions. I also explained the poem to you now, and we understood that this poem is a very humorous poem. What is a humorous poem? It is one where we read the poem and then we enjoy it and we laugh. Okay? So, now that was about the poem. Now, always when we do a lesson in English, we talk about some grammar part or some vocabulary part which is part of the lesson. So, let us see what is there for us to do now in this particular topic related to grammar and vocabulary. So we have to study about the homograph, and we also have many other points of grammar, like for example we have interrogation as a figure of speech, we have personification, alliteration, pun. Okay, all these figures of speech also we have to learn, but we are not going to do all of them today. We will divide it up. Half of it we'll do today and half of it we'll do next time when we meet. So let us first at least talk about homographs today. Now children, in English language there are a lot of concepts which are very confusing. One such concept is the concept of homograph as compared to the concept of homophones. Many of us get confused at times. But remember, a very easy method to remember this. Homograph. Now here graph means something which is in written. Okay? And homophone, when you say phone, it means sound. So remember, homophone means two words which sound the same, but their spellings may be different. Alright? But here we are looking at homographs. So homographs means they sound the same. They are also written in the same way. That is, the spellings are also the same. But the pronunciation may differ and the meanings are also different. Okay, so see some examples here on the screen for you. Bat, which is a bird, a mammal, and bat, which is a cricket equipment. Letter means a letter which you write to someone. Okay, a message. And the other letter is letter of the English alphabet. Bow, one bow is the this thing which you wear along with your coat or a suit. Okay, and the other bow is physically giving, it is a sign of respect. When you bow to someone, when you bend your head, respecting someone, the presence of another person. So these are examples of homographs, children, and this is the meaning of homographs. Let us look at some more examples. See here. Now here the spelling is the same. Okay, meanings are different and pronunciations are also different. In the previous picture, spellings were same and pronunciation was also the same. But here you will see spellings are same but pronunciation and meaning is different. The first one, tear, T-E-A-R, it is a tear. Tear means a drop of water which falls out of your eye when you get emotional. And the other one is T-E-A-R, tear. Tear means to pull away something from a book. Okay, tear. Now, these are examples of homographs where the spelling is the same, meaning is different, and pronunciation is also different. See here, spelling is same, pronunciation is also same, but meaning is different. Ring and ring. One ring is the sound of the telephone and the other ring is the ornament which you wear on your finger. See, one more example. Wind and wind. So the first one, I can feel the wind in my hair. Wind, air, breeze. Okay. And the other one is winding. Winding. For example, you wind the clock. Okay. Nowadays you don't have clocks which you need to wind. You wind the string, means you take a string and you roll it up. That is also called as winding. W-I-N-D, wind. W-I-N-D, wind. Look at the next one. Same spelling, same pronunciation. Well and well. Sam doesn't feel well today. That means his health is not very good today. Our neighbors are digging a new well. Now here the well is a common noun, a place from where you draw water. Alright children, so these are examples of homographs. I hope the examples are very clear to you. Now we have a few exercises from our textbook. Let us look at them also before we continue. So what are homographs? They have given us some examples. Words that have the same spelling but differ in meaning when used in different contexts are called homographs. Example C. A temple fair attracts a lot of crowd. Now this is a temple fair where people get together in order to celebrate. Her performance in the test was fair. Here performance was fair. It was not very good and it was not very bad. It was okay, fair. The next one is the rose is the king of flowers, the rose. And the other one is the sun rose with a golden glow. The geographical, you can say, a phenomenon in which the sun appears in the sky. Alright. The last, there is an exercise for you. 2 I will do and the remaining will be homework for you. So think of the 5 homographs and list them down. I'll show you 2. See, close. Close means one closes. Did you close the door before leaving the house? So it is a verb, closing the door. And the other one, the school is close to my house. So in the first one, it is about closing the door, an action. And the second one, it is about proximity, how close your house is to your school. Example number 2, fan. Okay, the first fan is a person whom you are in awe of. I'm a huge fan of Lata Mangeshkar. Second example of fan is the electrical equipment. Can you switch on the fan, please? So this fan could be the ceiling fan, it could be the table fan, etc. The remaining 3 columns you're supposed to fill in as part of your homework.
So children, that was assignment 1 for you, the homework which I just told you to do. Now talking about assignments, after you watch this video, there are a few tasks that you have to do. Okay, now what those tasks are, I will explain it to you towards the end of this video. Now since we are doing this particular exercise on homographs, there is one exercise on homographs in the English workshop part of your lesson. So let us go to that before we wind up the lesson for today. So it is on page number 13 in your English textbooks. Now I will try and read part of the question which is here, and then I will try and read the remaining part from the textbook. So all of you, if you have your textbooks with you, you can come to page number 13. So from each line in the poem, pick out the word that is a homograph. So this is the exercise. So this is one more additional exercise in homographs from the one which we did last. This is the second one. Write its meaning in the context of the phrase used in the poem. Then write the other meaning implied in the question. So here you will see that on this particular chart, I have printed this chart from your textbook. So there is one word. Now we are going line wise, that is we are going stanza wise. So in the first stanza there are 4 lines, the second one there are 4, and the third one there are 4. So we are going to try and pick out 4 words which are homographs from each stanza, and we are going to try and find out what is the meaning according to the poem and what is the other meaning. Okay, so come on, the first one they have done it for us. So I will take you through some of them, and the remaining will be assignment 2 for today from the video, apart from the assignment which you have to do after watching the video. Alright, so come on, let's start by seeing the example that they have given us. So in the first stanza, in the first line, you will see the word bed. Have you ever seen a sheet on a river bed? Now here the word bed means the bottom of the sea or the river. Okay, but in actual, the word bed means what? A piece of furniture. So one meaning of this word bed is that it is a piece of furniture, and the other meaning is it is the bottom of the river or of the sea. Alright, come on, let's pick up the next word that they have given us, or let us pick up a word from the second line in the first stanza. and the word is head. Okay, so what is the meaning of head? How many different meanings of head can you find out? So one meaning of head is a part of our body. Alright, and what is the meaning of head which is implied in this particular poem? It is the top of a hammer. So the top of our body is also called as the head of our body, and the top of a hammer is also called as the head of the hammer. One more example I will solve it for you, and then we can do the others as homework. So the next one is in the third line of the stanza. You have the word foot. So here foot means again a part of the body, alright, but the meaning which is implied in the poem is that it is the base of a mountain. So see, you have in each line in this particular poem, you have a word which is a homograph. It could have two different meanings, two or more sometimes. Alright, so let us look at and pick out the other homographs, and then I will leave you to find out the meaning and the other meaning on your own. So in stanza 1, there is one last word, and that is hose. Okay. After that, in stanza 2 again, we have the word eye. In the first line, does the needle ever wink its eye? Then you have in the second line the word wings. Okay. In the next line, line 3 of stanza 2, you have the word can you tickle the ribs of a parasol, or open the trunk of a tree at all. Coming to the last stanza, in the first line you have the word are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? So you have the word teeth there, which could have more than one meaning. Have the hands of a clock any left or right? Can the garden plot be deep and dark? And what is the sound of the birch's bark? Okay, so these are all the words in the poem which could have more than one meaning. So let me leave you here with this. Now children, like I told you, in this particular lesson, there is a lot of grammar to be done, and there is a lot of vocabulary exercises which we have done just now. Now there are certain exercises based on figures of speech also in this lesson, but we will be picking it up in the next part of the video. So I will want you to wait for the next part of the video in order to understand what the various figures of speech which are there in the lesson are. So which are they? Let us take a quick glance at this. We will do them in detail in the next video. So we are going to learn the figures of speech, interrogation, we will learn about pun, we will learn what personification is, and we will try and understand the meaning and use of the figures of speech, alliteration. Okay, but that will be in part 2 of the lesson, Have You Ever Seen? So in this particular part, we talked about the poem, we read the poem, we tried to understand a very important vocabulary point which is there in the poem, that is homographs. Okay, we understood what the meaning of homographs is, we read the lesson, we tried to understand the meaning of all the questions in the lesson, and we call them as rhetorical questions. Okay, rhetorical questions are questions which do not expect answers. And then we did some very interesting exercises based on homographs. So when the next video comes up, we will look at figures of speech. So that is all for today, children. So children, now you have watched the video. So after you watch the video now, you will have to complete a few simple tasks. Now you might have watched the video on your computers or your laptops or your mobile phones. Now after you watch the video, what will you do? You will please go to the description box which is given below the video. So what is the description box? See, the description box looks like this. Alright, and after you go to the description box, you will see that there are a few questions there. Now what are these questions about? These questions are about the lesson that we just learned or the video that you just watched. So what will you do? You will think back properly about the lesson and you will try and answer these questions and note down the answers in your notebook if you want. Okay? After that, we have another task waiting. You will also click on the link which you will find in the description box to fill up the Google form. So now what is the Google form, children? It is nothing but a simple form. There are a few simple questions there about the video which you just saw and also about yourself. So these are the tasks now that you will have to complete after you watch each video. So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.